Okay, tell me a little bit about this trail. I mean, the project. How long has this project been going on?
This project officially kicked off in 2017 when the decision notice came from the Forest Service to open the trail and to build the equestrian trail. It's 19.5 miles of trail exclusively for horses. So this is the first equestrian trail in the National Forest.
I'm looking at some of these photos, bridges. I mean, tell me about these bridge construction and deconstruction in some cases.
Yes, we have 3 bridges. 2 are fiberglass, 50 feet, 35 feet, and then a 30-foot timber bridge. And we built 3 bridges in 3 weekends with volunteer effort and our contractor, Trails Unlimited.
To build these bridges, what did it take? I mean, they're not little wooden bridges. These fiberglass look like pretty good size.
There was a year of engineering planning that had to go into it, and it had to be reviewed and approved by the Forest Service, just with the different specs, the dimensions of the bridge, the weight bearings, and a lot of work that went into it. And that all had to be reviewed and approved by the Forest Service.
Hey, you get quite a few horses out here, and y'all started using the trail already. Tell me, how long is the trail as far as riding time? The
trail is 19.5 miles. 14 miles are north of Caney Creek, and we've got about another 4 to 6 miles that are south of Caney Creek. But the trailhead here serves the 14 miles that are north of the creek.
How long does it take to ride that 14 miles?
It depends on how fast you want to go.
Okay, average
the average horse is going to walk about 3 miles an hour. So they would do, the other day we rode 15 miles and it took us 5 hours. But I've got endurance riders who ride much faster, and they came out and did that same 15 miles in 3 hours.
Is it a big loop?
It is a big loop. There's one trail that goes out, and then there's a big loop that's called Iron Horse Loop. The different trails are going to have different names that kind of pertain to the history of the area. Like Iron Horse Loop, when the Forest Service clear-cut the forest in the early 1900s, they had small trains that ran through the forest to collect the timber, and we can still see remnants of that tram system out on that Iron Horse Loop trail.
What about, people are getting lost in this forest all the time. I understand they've got an app also for this trail.
We do. The map, you can see one behind me. It's also got the QR code that people are able to load it to their phone. And there's geo-referenced map systems that you can load that trail map to, and it'll tell you exactly where you're at on the trail at any given time. We've also got all reassurance markers all along the trail, and every time you cross a road, there's signposts there that tell you what road you're crossing. So we've done a lot to help with bearings and to make sure people know where they're at in the forest. In case something happens, they get lost or they need help.
I mean, this trail, basically, they started this thing, over 10 years ago?
The first grant was issued in 2012, yeah, and we started construction in 2017.
What about dollars?
We have 2 grants from Texas Parks and Wildlife for $550,000 combined, and the grants are structured that it's 80% of their money and 20% match that we have to put in. So we've contributed about $137,000 in grant match through volunteer hours, through donated services, and through fundraising.
What kind of fundraisers?
We had a big fundraiser in May of 2018, and we had set out to earn about $5,000 to help with the costs that are not covered by the grant. And as it turned out, the outpouring from the community was so amazing and has continued to be amazing. We've probably captured $15,000 in fundraising.
So now today kind of just a grand opening for the trail?
It is. We're taking a pause. We've used up both of the grants. We've built the 19.5 miles we committed to. We've done everything that we had to do. So we're going to take a pause. We're continuing to apply for new grants so we can build out the remaining miles. It'll eventually be 36 miles in total.
Now, one of the biggest drawbacks right now is crossing Caney Creek?
It is. Yeah.
What is it going to take to cross Caney Creek?
We are going to need to have the bridge that goes over 1791 there is going to need to be widened by TXDOT, because what's happening right now is, like in Harvey, all that water backed up at that bridge and bottlenecked there, and then backed up into the forest where the trail is supposed to cross. So we can't even think about placing any infrastructure on that creek until the flow through 1791 is fixed. So that's going to be a longer term effort. Drops, so we're going to hope that continues for just a little bit longer. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out for this. I mean, look around the room, the tent. You guys are all part of making this happen, and I just couldn't be more proud of everything that we've done. So thank you. As I said before, we know in total we've got about 36 miles of trail to build. This is 19 and a half. And we've done that with 2 grants. So now we'll take a pause and celebrate our success while we continue to apply for more grants and to build steam for that next phase. But we are committed to developing the full 36 miles, and I think the Forest Service is also committed to that. So together we'll partner and make that happen. I did want to talk a little bit about the journey of getting to this place. I think a lot of the folks here got involved probably about the same time I did, which was 2016, 2017. But the reality is the concept of this trail and a lot of the planning happened way before that. And I'm so honored today that we have retired District Ranger Warren Oria has joined us. And I would like him to say a few words, if you don't mind, about some of that early history, because
One month at a time. Okay, I got here on the district in the fall of 2006, and my predecessor, who was an acting ranger at the time, had just completed a big meeting with all the user groups on the trail system at that time, and unfortunately, everybody left madder than hell, and so I got here right after that and had to deal with that. But slowly but surely, everybody started coming on board, and we had different trail user groups. We had the mountain bikers, we had the motorized folks, and we hadn't talked about a horse trail, although a lot of people were using the trail on mutt for horses. It wasn't a satisfactory trail for horses, not with motorcycles on it. So with that, we started talking and planning, in addition to all the trails, upgrading, and getting to the horse trail, I signed the NEPA document that allowed the horse trail, to go forward on, I think it was April 14th, 2016, and that enabled us to get the grants from the state for the coalition and start constructing the trail. And I'm sure everybody knows that took a while to put together the trail system with all the bridges and everything. Cement culverts so that when we burn, we didn't burn up the bridges or the culverts, which had problems in the past. So with that, things really got going, and we had the, where's Cam?
Huh? Cam's right.
Cam Lockwood was instrumental with his group, and a lot of the volunteers, which were equipment operators, such as
what's your name? David.
David. My mind went blank. We had a lot of, I think we had 4 certified equipment operators that Cam trained, and then I don't know if we added to that later, but it was instrumental in getting that equipment out there and building the trail for the horse trail. And then of course there was bridges and culverts to put in, et cetera, et cetera. And the Sam Houston Trail Coalition had obtained 2 of the grants from the state. I think they totaled about $550,000, if I remember. Wow. Okay. And that was enough to enable to get the 19 miles done. 19.5. 19.5. And at that point, the trail basically got completed, except for this site right here, which was a much bigger hill. And this is the first time I've seen it since it is now a very small hill. And relatively flat, and looks like it'll accommodate pretty much what we had anticipated early on. So with that, that kind of brings us full board to where things are at. I retired from the Forest Service in 2 years ago in 2019, and then my predecessor, where's my predecessor?
Successor.
Right there. He came in and been picking up the ball, and sounds like doing a great job with all the trail systems. And obviously people seem to be satisfied with this event. And it's a great thing to build these trails and provide for the public, in spite of the fact that on this side of the forest, it's very sandy, and everybody knows we get a lot of rain and a lot of hurricanes, and the sand rolls to the bottom of the hill, and it's very difficult to maintain that. But over the years, everybody's been contributing from the coalition to rebuild the trail by hand in a lot of cases.
And Warren, who
yeah.
started the coalition?
Who started the coalition?
Or how did it start?
How did it start? I think I had a hand in that.
Oh, come on, tell us the story.
I'm not sure I can remember all that.
I think that you had all these different people coming to you, and you said, look, you people get together and give me a spokesperson or something like that.
Yeah, well, it was challenging early on.
Yeah.
Everybody had a lot of different viewpoints.
Yes, that's a nice way to put it.
And I suggested we all work together for the common cause for all the trails. And then you had, in the coalition, you had people start standing up and becoming mountain bike representative, a horse trail representative, etc. And we built a lot of additional trails that are open to the public when it's not closed due to bad weather. So with that, I think I've pretty much summarized my end of things.
I got involved, like I said, in the beginning of 2017 when the decision notice was formed, and we formed the project team, which was myself, Ross Carey, Cindy Metis, and David Todd. And we laid out, we knew we had 36 miles to work with, and we tried to pick the trails that would allow us to get the biggest bang for the buck and to minimize the number of bridges we had to do and the amount of mileage. And so that's how we came up with the 19.5 that you see now. It was the least expensive trail to build with all the different infrastructure. We had a kickoff meeting with the Forest Service in August of 2018, and just some of the folks that were involved there. Some here, some were not able to attend. It was Mary Hughes Fry, Warren, Jason Morton, Steve Lewis, who's the Forest Service engineer, Mark Pons, who at the time was the acting Rex manager, Cam Lockwood, Jerry Barrow, who were also here helping with the project, and then the coalition team. And I think that's really where the great collaboration between the groups began. We had a common goal, we had a plan, and that's really when things began to take off. But it's amazing as I look back now, and I chuckle that in the beginning I had this project plan that said, we're going to build this whole thing in a year. Well, then there's reality, and things took longer than expected. And just a lot of the engineering really takes time to go out and survey the trail, to do the designs, to get it approved through the Forest Service and all of the channels. And then, of course, there were weather delays that happened over and over again, some of which we're kind of, continuing to deal with here. Just some other timelines, and I think this is where you guys may have stepped in. We did the fundraiser, of course, in May of 2018. That was a great success. We started the bridges in August through October of 2019. And I think it's like it should be a movie. 3 bridges in 3 weekends is what we did. And we enjoyed doing it so much that on a couple of the fiberglass bridges, we put them together, went to put them up, and decided it was wrong, so we took them down, redid them, and put them back up. So we did that a few times. Did it again, just for good measure. So we had lots of practice on the bridges. Once we finished those bridges, and then also just to talk about some of the folks that were involved in that, Cam Lockwood, of course, with Trails Unlimited, was our chief contractor on the bridges, and he partnered with Raven Environmental, Ross Carey, on the culverts. We also had America Youth Works, or Texas Youth Corps, that came in and helped with the abutments, and of course the volunteers, the Sam Houston volunteers that put so much time into that. After the bridges were done, we got that second grant activated. That was October of 2019, and that's where the engineering for this trailhead began. And as you can see, the challenge here, as Warren said, was it was a hillside. So how do you set up a trailhead on a hillside with the appropriate slopes to accommodate horse trailers? And that's where Jerry Barrow, the engineer, came in with the idea for the retaining walls. And we're so grateful and appreciative for that effort, because I think there's no other trailhead like this that I'm aware of, and so I think it's very unique and also very functional. The trailhead was constructed, again, it was a partnership with Trails Unlimited and Raven Environmental. They worked together on that, and I also have to do a call out to Sylvia and Jeff, who came out and assisted Cam almost every day for 3 weeks to build this trailhead. They were out here pushing dozers and skid steers and all kinds of stuff to move materials, and he never would have gotten it done on the timeline that he had to without their help. We took a little pause while we were waiting for reimbursement from Texas Parks and Wildlife in there, and once that was done, we went full steam on the kiosk, and again, that was a tremendous volunteer effort. Heather gave us the specifications for the kiosk, and then we had our engineers, Bill Elwell and Jeff Heller, who worked together to come up with a plan of how do you turn this from specifications into an actual kiosk. And I'll spare you some of the details, but just know that there was about 300 volunteer hours that went into building that kiosk. The last 2 items we had to complete to open it was the signage, and you'll see some of that on the roads as you drive down, some of the trail crossings, and again, that was all volunteer effort. And then the last item was the pipe fencing that you see throughout the trailhead. With that, we were in a place to open the trail, which we did on April 17th, and that was 4 years from the date of the decision notice, and just a little over 3 years to do all of the construction. And again, it's just a tremendous effort, and I think a very successful partnership between the U.S. Forest Service and the Trails Coalition, and also all of our contractors and suppliers, and of course our volunteers. I mean, everybody just came together so well to make this happen, and you know, it's inspiring to me. I mean, I know people, and I thank you for your accolades and telling me that you're appreciative that I've been on this, but I could not have done this without you all. And every time that I got down or thought that we weren't going to get it done, you guys stepped up and you carried me through those tough spots. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it. I'd like to turn it over to District Ranger Jason Rosner for a few words. Razor, I'm sorry, and I'm always correcting other people, and I messed it up myself.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Like Linda just said, my name is Jason Razner. I've got to write it down because I worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service for almost 18 years, but I'm now the District Ranger for the Sam Houston National Forest. So this moment right now isn't about me. It's about the citizens, it's about the volunteers. So if you were a volunteer or are a volunteer with the Trails Coalition, please stand for me right now. If you're a volunteer. Volunteer in general outside the coalition, please stand. I need all volunteers. Every form and fashion, if you're a volunteer, please stand. I want to see everybody. So come on, stand up for me. All right. So I want y'all to look around and see all the folks that volunteer that are here today. And that's what makes this place a true success. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. If you can, please go ahead and take your seat. So thank you all so very much. With that being said, Linda, she is, I don't want to say bashful, she doesn't want to take a lot of the credit, but Linda, if you can, please stand. You're a fantastic. And on the other side of things, I'm honored to be in this position. We've also got some Forest Service staff. If y'all want to go ahead and please stand. Not if you want to, please stand. I do this to show that it's a collaboration, it's teamwork, it's effort, it takes everybody. Warren, when I found out you were going to be here, due to COVID, I've been here for about a year and a half now, and we haven't had a chance to meet in person. So I'm so thankful for this opportunity. You did the hard work, you did the legwork, you got it all set up. I just came out at the end for this process, and we've got more good work to do. So I want to thank all y'all, and also want to recognize Raven Environmental and Cam, wherever he went, back over here. So if you work for Raven and Cam, if y'all can, please stand up. So I'm going to just say a few words, so I don't take up too much of y'all's time, but I'm honored to be here at this event, and if a lot of folks realize that Texas is 95% privately owned. And so, with that being said, these public lands are a gem to have these opportunities to come out and recreate and participate. So when I moved back, I worked in Arkansas before I came back to Texas. Heather told me, said, hey, we're building a parking lot. So when you think of a parking lot, you think of a parking lot. Well, this is a Texas-sized parking lot. So, I mean, this is fantastic. And to me, it truly accommodates the purpose of what we're trying to do here. So, the thing that I've actually had a chance to visit with some of y'all this morning is that the amount of development that's taking place out here is just, it's amazing to see how quick these subdivisions, the growth, the economy, and everything else. And all that's going to do is continue to create a higher demand on the public land that we have. So we've got to look forward, thinking how we can create these trails for sustainable use to make sure that we're able to accommodate the increasing demands. The future is bright here on the Sam Houston. I'm honored to be in this position and look forward to the things that are coming in the future. There's great things that are going to happen, not only from our volunteers, partners, but also on behalf of the Forest Service. So once again, this isn't about me, it's about y'all. Thank y'all very much, and have a good rest of the day.
They're also here. I would like to thank Jim and his wife Terry from First National Bank of Huntsville. They were our financial backers and gave us a lot of credit. So when we didn't have the capital, they were there to support us and to help us get through some of the purchases. Because the way it works with Texas Parks and Wildlife is we have to purchase things up front and then we get reimbursed from the state. So capital became a big deal. We also had a tremendously successful fundraiser, and we had a lot of folks that contributed financially to this project. So you may have already stood because of being a volunteer, but you also serve double duty as a financial contributor. And that would be Andrea Brotherton, Val Kane, Barb Chopek, Ben Buchanan, Darylyn Butler, Walker Feed, Natalie Goldberger, and Fiona Creighton. We also had donations from a couple of equestrian groups, both TETRA, which is Texas Equestrian Trail Riders Association, and BVETR, which is Brazos Valley Equestrian Trail Riders, contributed to this project, as well as the Lone Star Cowboy Church. For our suppliers and contractors, we couldn't have been more grateful for having fantastic partners in this process. Cam Lockwood of Trails Unlimited, of course, you've met already. Ross Perry with Raven Environmental. Frank Belt with McCoy's Building Supplies, who were a big contributor. Where'd you go, Frank? There you are. Frank got to see this project happening because he lives right down the road. And then Brownie Baker with Wilbert Vaults, who's responsible for the retaining wall. Where are you at, Brownie? There you are. Okay, thank you. And again, as Jason said, all of the volunteer efforts. Just a little trivia fact. We had over 6,200 volunteer hours that went into this project. And if you figure that each hour is worth $21.35, that was $132,000 in match towards the grant that was done with volunteer hours. So fantastic. As we went through this whole process, I was envisioning in my mind having an event like this where we could thank everybody who's been so much a part of this project. And there's about 6 individuals, 7 maybe, that are here that I would like to have come up. I've got something a little special for you and your contributions. So Ross Carey could not be here, and typical Ross, he's the man behind the scenes that's done so much for this project, but he likes to remain behind the scenes, and right now he's working on a project out in West Texas, so he couldn't be here. But I would like to ask his wife Dawn to come up. Of our project plan for the trail, of all of the infrastructure that we were going to put in place. And I had one of these made for each of the significant contributors, just as a memento for the work that we've done and to thank you for your time and service. So let me find Ross's. I didn't organize. So thank Ross and I'll be thank you. Who was my co-project manager and partner in project. And the mastermind of the fundraiser that was so successful. Thank you, Cindy. David Todd, who was president of the coalition, project member, and also our equipment operator extraordinaire. Thank you, David. Heather Spencer.
There you go.
Heather. And thank you for everything.
Good job, Heather.
All right, Jordan, you're not, come on up. You were part of this too, from the beginning.
Thank you, Jason.
Where's Miss Sylvia?
Right here.
Miss Sylvia, come on up. And where's Mr. Jeff Heller?
Hey, Cindy, did you tell her it was a lifetime position?
So I want to thank all the volunteers from the bottom of my heart. It just doesn't happen without volunteers. The Forest Service backed us. First National Bank came through for us, and so it's just a huge collaboration of people. And saying thank you just doesn't seem to cut it. But you know, my hat's off to everybody who donated so much of their time and money to this whole project. Linda Seacrest was our project manager, and let's just face it, she was the driving force behind this whole thing. She never wavered, and she had the incredible task of, like we like to say, herding cats, and she just did such a beautiful job of it. It's called How to Do It, you know. So I can't thank her enough for what she did. She just kept everything in line, kept everybody headed the right direction, and it was just a beautifully well done project. Linda is now the at-large director, and she's also the president of the coalition now. So that's a pretty big task in itself. So, with that said, we want to send a little bit of TLC your way. So we have a variety of things here. And there's a theme to this. Stress relieving body bath gel, stress relieving soap, stress relieving candles.
We need some now.
Okay, a stress relieving comfort wrap for your neck. So after you've had all this TLC, you can then wrap yourself up in a nice little horsey blanket and with a bottle of wine and have some almonds and some chocolate.
Both of you stay here. As she said, we appreciate both of them so much. It's one thing to go out and do the physical labor, but if you don't have these two girls making it happen, giving us the okay, talking to the forest service, we just wish we know can you get it right. We appreciate both of you so much beyond anything we can say. We brought you some tokens. Yes. So this one's Linda, your certificate, and your city stuff there.